Good morning, everybody, and a happy Monday morning to you. Another really long video because a lot went on and I'm trying not to get behind. You guys just won't believe it. When a bully hires a bully. Oh my God. All right, let's just jump in and cover what we have, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start with the Duchess of Gloucester, who held a garden party for the Not Forgotten Association at Buckingham Palace. This association supports those who have served in the armed forces and are living with injury, illness, or isolation. Interesting to me, Princess Anne is actually the patron of this association, but this was hosted by the Duchess of Gloucester. There were veterans, Army, Navy, Royal Air Force personnel, and their guests, and they were all invited in recognition of their service. The King's bodyguard of the Yeomen of the Guard was on duty, and the band of the Irish Guards was there playing a selection of music during this event. You guys know how much I like her, and even at her age, that she and her husband have stepped up to host these events and be a working royal, I just think is wonderful. Also, from what I understand, she's just generally a nice person, besides being pretty. And remember, when she married Richard, he was the second son. She wasn't supposed to be doing all this. All right, let's move on now. This past Wednesday, Sir Tim Lawrence, as chair of the Board of Trustees, attended the Directors' Annual Dinner at the Science Museum. Next up, we have the King and William, the Prince of Wales, who is the Great Master. They attended the 300th anniversary and service for the oath and installation of the Great Master and the Knight Grand Cross of the Order of the Bath at Westminster Abbey. This is the first time that King Charles has been there as monarch. Walking in with King Charles was the Dean of Westminster, David Hoyle, and behind him was Sir Clive Alderton, His Majesty's Principal Private Secretary, and Equerry Will Thornton. A big thank you to Sarah Secret for finding out that the King's Page of Honor, which is the kid walking behind him holding up his robe, is Guy Tryon, who also served as the Page of Honor at the service of the Order of the Garter in 2024. William, in case you're unaware, was given the title of the Grand Master of the Order during the ceremony by King Charles, which included the oath-taking and installation of 5 knights. The King and the Prince of Wales also joined the procession of the officers and knights and the Dame Grand Cross through the church before taking their seats in the choir. And after the service, new pictures of King Charles and Prince William in their traditional robes were released, leaving many royal fans saying the same thing. What most people didn't seem to notice is how much taller William is compared to King Charles. Now, while it's been unconfirmed, I don't know why this is such a big deal, but Prince William is supposed to be 6'3", making him the tallest member of the senior royals. King Charles is about 5'10". For those of you who don't know, the service for the Order of the Bath takes place every 4 years, with the King traditionally attending every other service. So Charles attended a service in 2022 when he was the Prince of Wales. He also previously held the title of Grand Master, which again is the title he just passed on to William. He was given that title, Charles was, by Queen Elizabeth in 1975. And this is the first time that Charles and William have been seen together since the VE Day celebrations earlier in the month when they were seen with the other senior royals after, what Harry said and did. I believe that a lot of people forget that all these ceremonies and the pomp and everything that goes on are part of England's very unique heritage, and that's what draws thousands of tourists, which help the economy, which is true. That's one of the reasons why I always wanted to go to London. I wanted to see all of the history, not just a pile of bricks. And the royal family is part of that, if that makes sense. Without the royal family, it's just another pile of bricks. I could go anywhere for that, Some of these pictures are just striking. All right, let's move on. All right, next up, the Speaker of the House of the Assembly, the Honorable Dennis Lister, was received in a private audience by King Charles. This gentleman shared updates on Bermuda's House of Assembly, which happens to be the oldest continuous parliament outside Westminster. Let's move on. Moving on, I love this. It's obvious Eugenie has picked a side. She has now taken on a very significant role as part of King Charles's wider legacy work. She is stepping in to mentor a new generation of change makers through the King's Foundation. She met with a group of young creatives last week as part of the foundation's 35th anniversary project known as the 35 Under 35. And this initiative helps support young leaders across industries like fashion, architecture, and environmental activism. Love it. Next up, the Marchioness of Bath attended the 2025 Cannes Film Festival. My friends, that is how you wear a red dress. Next up, Zara and Mike Tyndall attended the Mike Tyndall Celebrity Golf Classic at the Belfry Golf and Resort Hotel in Sutton Coldfield. This took place on May 16th. Looking good there, Mike. And a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what he was wearing. Let's move on. Let's move on to Princess Anne. She is the president of the Devon County Show. And as the president, she visited the show at the West Point Showground. Princess Anne is always looking fabulous and stylish. She is the queen of the rewear. All right, let's move on now to the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. They attended day 2 of the Royal Windsor Horse Show. So this was on the 16th of May. For those of you who may not know this or who may have forgotten, this was one of Philip's favorite events, Queen Elizabeth's husband. Now, while they were there, also, Sophie was seen meeting the King of Bahrain. And Edward was seen meeting the King of Bahrain's son. I believe his name is pronounced Nasir. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what Sophie was wearing on day 2. And before we knew it, it was day 3. And King Charles decided that he was going to attend along with, again, Prince Edward and Sophie at the Royal Windsor Horse Show on Saturday. Now, we know that King Charles usually isn't pictured alongside Edward without other members of the royal family, but okay. A lot of people were talking that the king was debuting a new relaxed look because he was wearing a pair of Serengeti sunglasses. I think he always looks relaxed and happy, but that's just me. Really quickly, in case I didn't tell you before, this horse show has been held on the grounds of Windsor Castle since 1943. Now, during this day, Charles and Edward were watching a cross-country race, and a competitor's carriage collided with a gate post, and the incident occurred as the driver attempted to speed through that part of the obstacle course. Apparently, Edward and Charles both looked visibly concerned when they saw the actual collision, but everything turned out all right. Now, at some point, they entered the royal box and they were watching from there, and some pictures came out. Sophie must have said something because Charles busted out laughing and Sophie looked absolutely hilarious. We all know that Sophie is known for having an absolutely wicked sense of humor, just like Camilla. And you guys know how much I like her. She's just such a nice person. And again, a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce. Let's continue on. You should also know, though, the King presented the award for the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery Best Gun Team at the show. All right, let's continue. Let's move on to Harry and Meghan stuff. Of course, Meghan put up this ridiculous photo with the rose because, well, we know why. She's so jealous and she's always trying to divert attention. All right, next up, Ryan Reynolds was on the Conan O'Brien show, and he started making jokes about Meghan Markle, saying that she was the, quote, middleman for jars of jam. Now, we know that this man is embroiled in that whole Blake Lively legal battle with Justin Baldoni. I'm not even going to touch on that. And he didn't talk about any of that, but he did make some jokes at Meghan Markle's expense. Ryan Reynolds said that his dad was a police officer and then became a, quote, food broker, joking that he thought he meant he worked for the CIA before his father told him he was a, quote, middleman for jars of jam. And Conan goes, what? He worked for Meghan Markle? Tiny jams, harvestable jams made from the oils of Montecito. All All right, let's move on to one of the big stories of today. We have come to find out, they're saying it's season 2, but we all know that everything was taped at the same time. And Meghan Markle can only get certain people on her show. And one of the people that apparently is going to be showing up is Chrissy Teigen. That's what's being said. So I did a video on Chrissy Teigen for my Patreon people. I want you to watch this. It explains everything. Another jar of jam has come out, and of all people in the world, Meghan Markle, who is a known bully, has hired another bully. So I'm going to give you a little background on her just in case you don't know it. Let's just cover Chrissy Teigen before we get into what's going on. Here we go. So here's what happened. Kim Kardashian went to a basketball game and put her purse on the floor that was worth $40,000, and people absolutely went nuts. She told these people to shut the you-know-what up and told them they should go move to Kensington Palace because, that's where the nuts live. Essentially, Chrissy Teigen put out a message saying, "Thank you to everybody. You've been my world for 10 years, but I gotta go." And she claimed that she was being bullied online. Almost immediately, a woman by the name of Courtney Stodden stepped forward and said that she had been online bullied by Chrissy Teigen. She said, quote, "What a shame it's too negative for her," and then proceeded to put up tweets that clearly show Chrissy Teigen saying things to her like, "You should remove yourself from this earth. You should take a dirt nap." I mean, some of the most disgusting things you could say to another human being. And of course, the messages were all sent in DMs privately, so not to spoil Chrissy's, public, persona. Well, all of this bullying of Miss Stoddard, who, by the way, sees herself as non-binary, just as an FYI, this really put her in a bad mental health place. She said she felt very lonely and alone. And almost immediately after that, Chrissy Teigen came out and said, not very many people get a second chance to, make things right. And I'm horrified at who I used to be. Chrissy said I was a immature, attention-seeking troll, and I feel terrible about the things I said to Courtney and the way I made her feel. The backlash did not stop, and with that, Chrissy Teigen put out another apology and said, "And I want to apologize to anybody else that I might have bullied online." Essentially, she couldn't remember if she had sent messages like that to anybody else. Not long after that, a fashion designer stepped forward and said that Chrissy Teigen had threatened his career. Cliff Notes version on that one is that it's allegedly, Chrissy went on this man's Instagram account and called him a racist. He then tried to reach out to her to straighten it out, saying, "Listen, I was, attacked by a cyber person." And she said, "Listen, all doors are going to be closed to you. I don't believe that." Supposedly, she said things like, "You deserve to suffer and die. Your career is over." Basically, the same kind of things that she sent to Miss Stodden. When somebody asked Chrissy Teigen about those messages, she claimed they were manipulated. And finally, her husband, we know John Legend, stepped up and said, "Listen, she's apologized, first of all, to Miss Stodden. And the rest of this is made up, it's manipulated, it's not real, and we need to stop this." So in 2021, Miss Teigen came out and said, "You know what? I'm in the cancel club, and all I can do is live my life. That's it." In July of 2021, Miss Stoddard stepped up and said, "I still have not received any kind of direct apology, not a DM, nothing from Chrissy Teigen." You all should also know that she used to watch a show called Toddlers and Tiaras, and she put up these disgusting, pornographic, pedophile-style tweets as well. Of course, she deleted them, but not before everybody screen grabbed them. So here's my point. Chrissy Teigen is a bully. She claims that she's reformed. Then we found out she bullied a fashion designer. She claims that was untrue. Now she's making comments to people the nut job should go move into the palace. So this woman has learned absolutely nothing from her previous history of being a bully. She's one of those people that thinks that she's gorgeous and she's like a Meghan Markle. So when Meghan Markle was sending out jam to people, of course, she sent one to Chrissy Teigen, who then put it up on her social media like everybody else did. But hers there was a twist to it. It was actually kind of disgusting. Let me explain. She gets her jar. She puts out the announcement, "We're jamming. This might have been one of the best bites we've had all year. All we used is some rustic bread, salted butter, triple cream brie, thick cut bacon." It's like this whole thing, and the jam. And then she put up an Instagram thing, and the music playing was Bob Marley and the Wailers jamming through the clip. And she's making this thing. I thought she was more talking about the brie than the jam. Now, keep in mind that this is a woman who recently went to China just to buy $900 worth of meat. So she said, well, the kids were away at camp. And so I just, hopped on this flight to China to visit his favorite butcher. And she documented the entire trip as well as cooking all of the dishes she made. Who the hell goes to China? She goes, yeah, I stole John's credit card before I left. So I made paying $900 an absolute breeze, right? A lot of people were as unimpressed with her commercial as I was. It's coming out. It's not just Chrissy Teigen. It's all these other people that they're being used for publicity. And of course, they want to get their names out there as well. But it's gotten to the point where when this jam comes on the market, I'm so sick of looking at it, I am not going to be purchasing any of it. But going back to Chrissy Teigen, what she basically did was she made a legal porno. She turned this into such an sexualized commercial. Seriously, guys, I was watching it and I was thinking, this is just disgusting. Like, really disgusting. So I guess my point is Meghan Markle hired a bully. So a bully hired a bully to promote some jam that's going to be so expensive, not a lot of people are going to buy it anyway. Now, a little bit of background information in case you don't know. This girl, Courtney Stoddard, was married off at 16 to a 51-year-old. She was horribly abused by everybody around her. And not only did Chrissy attack her online, but she encouraged other people to do so as well. And then, of course, again, she apologized in 2021, but Courtney said she never reached out to her directly. So her apologies are more of a damage control thing than an actual apology. All right, I want to touch really quickly on the Beckhams again, because apparently, we already know that David Beckham was furious when Harry and Meghan accused Victoria Beckham of leaking stories about them to the press. And now this whole feud is resurfaced because, of course, it was leaked to the press about Brooklyn and Nicola having dinner at Harry and Meghan's house in Montecito. They had no knowledge that the two of them had spoken with Harry and Meghan. And I think what they're concerned about is that Brooklyn is going to do what Harry did and write a tell-all. All right, next up, they're talking in that new book I told you about Meghan whining basically about the fact that she didn't understand the walkabouts and she wondered why she was not being paid to do them. Because, getting a free tour of all these countries with the best accommodations and airfare and everything just wasn't enough. No, she wanted to be paid. All right, let's move on about the kids. And what's being said is that King Charles is really heartbroken because he does not have a relationship with Archie and Lily. But the monarch's main priority is the monarchy. And also the fact that whether you want to agree with it or not, Harry and Meghan have weaponized those children. They've tried to use them to force King Charles to make decisions. And I think the king is absolutely right to not make decisions based on, all of this stuff going on. I mean, it's pretty obvious that they've used the kids as bargaining chips and they won't let the king know his children. He'll never see those children again. But don't you guys think it's odd that at the same time they're more than willing to use the British titles for their kids, prince and princess? All right, this is odd for me. This person on Twitter pointed out that there was an article saying Archie had surgery at 4 months old in Boston, but Archie was born in May of 2019 and they didn't step back from their senior roles till March of 2020. So how in the hell is that possible? All right, moving on. It's come out that the Queen was really unhappy with Harry's behavior before and after he married Meghan. She was very upset with the way he spoke to and yelled at Angela Kelly about the tiara. We remember Tiara Gate. Harry decided to bring in his own florist and cake maker instead of using the royal household staff. It's being alleged that Harry asked the Archbishop of Canterbury to marry the two of them before he even asked the Queen. Basically, he showed no respect for protocol or tradition. I also know that the Queen made some comments about Meghan's dress, the fact that it was white, and she wore a veil, which is something that you're only supposed to do when you're a first-time bride. It's now being reported that the Queen's only comment about Meghan and Harry's wedding was that Meghan's dress was, quote, too white. In the monarch's view, the dress was not appropriate for a divorcee getting remarried in church, and that it was a very Disney-esque spectacle of the day itself, very Disney. And we know how Meghan loves Disney. And I happen to agree. I like what Camilla wore at her second wedding. It was respectful. You guys know what I mean. Oh my goodness. Oh, I want your comments. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, Gettr, Rumble, email, my second channel, my trip to Italy continues, my Amazon wish list, and a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale, as well as my physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.